Welcome, wayward souls. I'm your crypt keeper, secret teller, and grave digger of forgotten lore, Fauna Blakewell. Light your lantern, come with me, and step carefully. The path ahead is uncertain, and I never promise a safe return. Bean Nighe is a spectral figure from Scottish folklore, closely related to the Irish banshee. She's part of a pan-Celtic tradition of washers at the ford, spirits who cleanse bloodied garments of those fated to die. Though she's often called a banshee, Bean Nighe is more than a death omen. She's a messenger from the other world, sometimes granting knowledge or wishes if approached correctly. In some tales she must be caught unaware. On Skye she's squat and childlike, answering questions if caught. In Perthshire she wears green and can be intercepted between herself and the stream. On Mull she's described with long breasts thrown over her shoulders, grotesque but symbolic. In the high glens of Scotland, where the mist clings to the heather and the streams run black with memory, there is a name only whispered when the wind is still. When the wind is still. Bean Nighe, the washer at the ford. She is no ordinary spirit. She is the soul of a woman who died in childbirth, doomed to wash the bloodied garments of the dying. Her task is endless, her song is low, and her sorrow is older than stone. The villagers said her mother had been ill, but Morven knew better. She had watched the blood soak through the birthing cloth, had heard the silence where a cry should have been, had felt her mother's hand go cold before the midwife even whispered a prayer. That was more than... Now, Morven stood at the edge of the stream beneath the rowan tree, where the water ran slow and dark. Her boots sank into the moss and the air smelled of earth. She hadn't meant to come, but grief has its own map. Streams seemed to whisper, not with water but with breath, a low, wet sound, like cloth dragged through teeth. And then she saw her, bent low in the shallows, pale skin bloated and veined, hair tangled with bramble and bone, breasts long and grey thrown over her shoulders like ropes, as she scrubbed a sheet in the water, red stained and heavy. Morven stepped closer. The woman did not look up, did not acknowledge her. The sheet she washed bore a name stitched in thread. Morven Blythe. She did not scream. She did not run. She knelt. Morven knelt at the edge of the stream, her breath shallow, her fingers trembling. The Bean Nighe did not look up, her hands moving in slow circles, scrubbing the bloodied sheet with a stone worn smooth by centuries of water. The name stitched into the cloth pulsed, and Morven whispered, "Is it mine?" The washerwoman paused. Her head turned, not fully, just enough to reveal her mouth. It wasn't stitched shut, but yet it did not open. Water spilled from it, slow and dark. "It is yours," the voice said, not aloud, not in air, but inside Morven's chest, like a second heartbeat. "Why?" Morven asked. "I've done nothing." The Bean Nighe scrubbed harder and the water turned red. You were born of grief. You carry her wound, and the stream remembers. Morven felt her knees sink deeper into the moss. Her mother's face flickered behind her eyes, pale, silent, mouth open in a scream that never came. "Can I change it?" she asked. And the washerwoman stopped. "Catch me, bind me, bury the cloth, but you must not bleed. If you bleed, the stream will take you too." Morven reached for the sheet instinctively, and the washerwoman hissed. The stream surged and Morven fell backward, her hand sliced by the stones beneath her. Blood had touched the water. The Bean Nighe smiled. "Then it is done." Morven wandered the moor, her hand wrapped in moss and linen, the blood still warm beneath. The stream behind her whispered her name, and ahead the fog had thickened. A shape emerged in the fog, a man, hunched, wrapped in a coat stitched from crow feathers and sheep's wool, and around his neck hung a bell, iron, rusted, silent. "You touched her, the washerwoman," he said. Not a question. Morven shook her head and held out her wounded hand. "She smiled," she whispered. The man sat on a large stone nearby. His eyes were pale, like hers. "I caught her once," he said. "Bound her with red thread and buried the sheep beneath the hawthorn. Thought I'd won." Morven stepped closer. "You lived?" He lifted the bell. "She took my voice. Not the one in my throat, but the one in my dreams. I can't scream. I can't pray. I can't remember my mother's name." Morven shivered and asked, "But why the bell?" He smiled, thin and crooked. "It rings only when someone dies in my place." Morven stared at it, hollow, waiting. "You want to live? What's your name?" he asked. "Morven." "Well, bury the cloth, but not beneath the hawthorn. That tree lies. Find the grave of a child who died unnamed. Only there will she forget you." Morven turned to go. "And Morven," he said, "don't let her smile again." The churchyard was older than memory. No path led to it, only a trail of broken stones and nettles winding through bramble and fog. Morven carried the bloodied sheet wrapped in cloth, her fingers still stained. The bell had not yet rung. She passed graves carved with lichen soft names, Ewan, Mari, Tamsin. Each one whispered as she passed, but none called to her. Then she found it. A stone, half sunken, blank. No name, no date, only a small carving of a bell. The air grew still. Morven knelt. Beneath the stone, the soil was soft. Too soft, almost as if something had stirred. She began to dig. Earth smelled of milk and salt, of something buried far too soon. She placed the sheet inside, wrapped in moss and thread. "Forget me," she whispered. The wind rose, and the bell around her neck hadn't noticed she was even wearing until now, shivered, but did not ring. Behind her the stream murmured, a figure standing at its edge. The Bean Nighe. She did not smile, she did not move, she simply watched. Morven placed the stone back, pressing her palm to it. Let the grave hold it. The washerwoman turned, walked into the water, and vanished. Morven returned to her cottage by the fen. The stream no longer whispered, and the washerwoman was gone. She lit no candles, and she spoke no prayers. She just waited. Days passed, and the bell around her neck remained silent until the 7th night. It rang, not loud, and just once. Morven woke, heart pounding. She threw her coat over her nightie and ran into the graveyard, barefoot, bleeding. Black stone was gone, and in its place, a new one, carved fresh. Morven Blythe, born of sorrow, buried in silence. She tried to scream, but no sound came. The bell rang again. Behind her the stream murmured, and a figure stood at its edge. But not the washerwoman. A child, blindfolded, holding a sheet stitched with her name. "You buried me," the child said, "but I was never unnamed." Morven stepped back, startled. Then who? The child smiled. The Bean Nighe's smile. "You were always mine." The bell rang a third time, and Morven fell to her knees. The stream surged, and the grave split open, and the washerwoman began to wash again. In the northern reaches of the fen, where the stream runs red and the moss grows thick as wool, the villagers speak of the Blythe bell. They say if you hear a single chime in the night, you must not answer, you must not rise, and you must not speak your name aloud. For the bell belongs to Morven Blythe, the girl born of sorrow, marked by the washerwoman who scrubs the dead's last cloth. Morven tried to escape her fate, burying her name in a grave without a stone. But the grave knew. Now when the bell rings, it means someone has tried to change their ending. Someone has buried a name. Someone has whispered to the stream. And Morven comes to collect. They say she walks barefoot, blindfolded, bleeding, carrying a sheet stitched with your name. If you see her, do not run, do not scream, just lie still. And there the tale ends for now, but the echoes will always remain. If you've enjoyed your stay here in my domain, leave your mark, a review, a whisper, a 5-star sigil. Until next time, wanderers, I've been Fauna Blakewell, and you've been changed forever.